Imagine this. She told you she was busy, that she had to focus on something important, that she couldn't answer your messages. You respected that. You told yourself, okay, she needs her space. Then, a few days later, you run into one of her friends. During the conversation, he says without thinking, she always replies fast to messages, even in the middle of a meeting. And a chill runs down your spine because you realize everything she told you was nonsense. She wasn't too busy. She just chose to ignore you. You feel the anger rising. You want to talk to her, clear things up. But barely has the conversation started, you feel the talk slip away. She twists your mind around, and within 5 minutes, it's you who starts doubting. You tell yourself, maybe I'm overreacting, maybe I'm wrong. And you end up apologizing. That's gaslighting, the art of turning you from victim into culprit, ripping your instinct away, trapping you inside your own head. Today, we're going to break down this weapon point by point. Stay with me until the end, because the last point is the one that frees you, the one where you reclaim your instinct, your dignity, and your life. So subscribe now and turn on notifications so you don't miss the raw truths that will make you untouchable. First point: the invisible poison. Gaslighting is poison you drink, thinking it's water. It doesn't choke you. It doesn't burn your stomach. No! It goes down slowly and it attacks your mind. It's subtle. If she hit you, you'd react. If she cheated on you openly, you'd leave. But here, she only makes you doubt what you've seen, heard, felt. She doesn't say you're lying. She just asks if you're sure. And that's enough. Because from there, you start questioning your instinct. Not to confirm the truth, but to confirm that she's right. Game over. A man who puts his instinct on trial in his woman's courtroom is already defeated. It doesn't happen in one blow, it's erosion, like a river carving a stone. A little phrase here, a mocking smile there, and slowly you start to believe your radar is broken. You're no longer a man who reads reality. You become a man who waits for someone else to translate reality for him. And that's deadly, because once you believe your eyes can lie, your ears invent, your memory deceive, you're no longer your own master. You belong to whoever tells you what to believe. A stoic never gives that power to anyone. Truth is sometimes harsh, uncomfortable, even unbearable. But it's yours. If you surrender it, even to someone you love, you're no longer a man. You're a child in an adult's body, holding out your hand for someone to explain the world to you. Gaslighting doesn't just steal your certainty. It steals your backbone, and when a man has no backbone, he bends to everything. Remember this, doubt in yourself can sometimes be healthy, but doubt sown by someone who profits from it, that is poison. Never drink that glass, even if it's served with a smile. Second point, the mechanics of doubt. A woman who masters gaslighting never attacks you head-on. She knows that if she hits you directly, you'll raise your shield. No, she prefers to take you on a slow dance, where every step leads you to ground you don't control. Doubt. She doesn't answer what you say. She answers who you are. You talk about a fact. She talks about your personality. You say, "That behavior bothers me." She replies, "You're so controlling." You say, "I didn't like what you did." She smiles. You see the bad in everything. And without realizing it, you've left the battlefield of facts and entered the arena of your self-image. You're no longer trying to solve a problem. You're trying to prove you're not crazy, not jealous, not fragile. And you will never win, because it's a game where she sets the rules and keeps the score. Gaslighting is exactly that, forcing you to defend who you are until you no longer know why you're defending yourself. And while you justify your mindset, your feelings, your reaction, the real problem disappears into the fog. The Stoic understands one thing: whoever defines the ground of the discussion defines the victory. If you accept to debate your mental health instead of talking about the concrete fact that bothered you, you've already lost the war before the first battle. That's why a man must stay anchored in reality. A fact is a fact. What happened, happened. If you start discussing your feelings before establishing the reality, you lose your sword and shield at the same time. Remember, she doesn't want you to believe in her innocence. She wants you to believe you're guilty of doubting. And that is far more effective than any lie. Because a lie you can dismantle, but the shame of doubting, you swallow that in silence. Third point, the ultimate female weapon. A woman doesn't need physical strength to bring you to your knees. She doesn't need to shout, threaten, or raise a hand. She has something better, the ability to take you into her ground. And on that ground, man, she's at home. She knows all the paths, shortcuts, and shadows. She knows where to shine light and where to cast things into darkness. And while you hunt for proof, she changes the very definition of what you're trying to prove. You think you're investigating. She rewrites the crime. You think you're seeking truth. She changes the meaning of the word truth. That's why gaslighting is the ultimate female weapon. A man hits you with his hands. A woman hits you with your own mind. She doesn't need you to agree with her. She doesn't even need you to believe her innocence. She just wants you to ask yourself, what if the problem is me? And there you're done for, because a man who doubts himself becomes his own prison. She doesn't need to lock the door and you close it from the inside. The truth is, most men aren't ready to play on this ground. We're taught to fight what we see, not what we're made to feel. And that's where the Stoic stands out. He knows emotions are waves. They pass, they lie sometimes. So he clings to facts coldly, like a sailor holding the mast during a storm. When she says, "You're exaggerating," you answer inside, "I saw what I saw." When she hints, "You're too jealous," you remind yourself, jealousy can be excessive, but vigilance is a virtue. She can attack your ego, your manliness, your calm, your confidence. But if your foundation is anchored in observable reality, she can scratch you, not knock you down. The trap is that many men want to save the relationship more than their dignity, so they accept their instinct being trampled, just to bring back peace. But that peace is a false armistice, just a truce before the next battle. You'll lose even faster. The Stoic knows it's better to lose a woman than lose the ability to trust yourself. Because once your instinct is broken, it can take 10 years to rebuild it. And in those 10 years, how many times will you be fooled? Fourth point, how the Stoic reacts. The Stoic doesn't try to win against gaslighting. He knows that if you enter this game, you've already lost, because the goal of the manipulator isn't to prove a point. It's to wear you down. And a worn-out man eventually gives in, even if he doesn't believe it. So the first rule is simple. Don't play on her ground. You stay on yours. And your ground is facts, not emotions, not interpretations, not justifications. The Stoic observes, notes, and keeps record. Mentally, physically, whatever it takes. What you've seen, you've seen. What's been said has been said. What's been done has been done. If tomorrow they say, "You're making it up," you know exactly what happened, and you don't need anyone's validation. This is the secret. Never seek validation from the one who tries to make you doubt. Truth isn't negotiated. You accept it or you ignore it, but you don't argue it. The Stoic doesn't explode. He doesn't scream to convince, because screaming means accepting the other has the power to reach you enough to lose your calm. And in a mental duel, losing your calm is signing your surrender. So he does what Marcus Aurelius called holding the inner siege. Keep his fortress closed to any emotional intrusion. You can accuse him, provoke him, mock him. He stays standing, not for appearances, but for the truth he knows. Most men fail here because they want to make things right with the manipulator. Fatal mistake. You don't fix anything with someone who profits from chaos to weaken you. You cut it short, not to punish, not out of anger, but for mental hygiene. The Stoic knows a peaceful mind is worth more than a relationship that poisons it little by little. And he knows one contamination can be enough to corrupt everything else. A man who keeps his truth keeps his power. A man who lets someone rewrite it loses everything, even if from the outside he won the argument. Fifth point, recognizing the social trap. Gaslighting wasn't born in romantic relationships. It already existed in royal courts, dictatorships, families, businesses. It's an old human trick, making the one who tells the truth look crazy and the liar look wise. Family can trap you in it. You call out an injustice and you get, "Stop, we've always done it this way." Translation, shut up and accept the tradition, even if it crushes you. Friends can trap you in it. You point out hypocrisy and suddenly you're the problem. You're too sensitive. Translation, we prefer your passivity to your clarity. Society perfected this poison. You say a rule is absurd, you're called a fringe. You question an official truth. They label you a conspiracy theorist, not to prove you wrong, but to silence you. Social gaslighting works for a simple reason: fear of isolation. A man alone with his truth is scary. So many prefer to betray their instinct just to stay in the group, and then the group holds them. Not by force, but by the shame of being the troublemaker. The Stoic refuses this deal. He knows truth is sometimes a desert, and it's better to walk alone in the desert than drown in a sea of lies. He doesn't seek to convince the crowd. He seeks to stay true, even when the crowd turns its back on him. You don't go mad by being isolated. You go mad by living in a shared lie. And that's where collective gaslighting is most dangerous, when everyone around you validates a version of the world that contradicts what you see every day. If you accept that, even just to live peacefully, you tear your own eyes out from inside. And a man who blinds himself to please the crowd will never see again. Sixth point, the final choice. One day you wake up. You realize it's been months, sometimes years, since you stopped listening to yourself. You've learned to doubt what you see, hear, and feel. You've become a stranger in your own head. And then the question arises, do you stay and lose your instinct forever? Or do you leave and lose the person who stole it from you? For the Stoic, the answer is clear. It's harder to regain a lost instinct than a lost relationship. You can build a relationship again. Your instinct is your only guide in the fog of life. Breaking it condemns you to walk blind in a world full of traps. Many men miss this choice. They stay out of fear of loneliness. They stay thinking they can fix things. But you don't fix with someone who taught you to doubt yourself. At best, you delay the moment you end up empty of yourself. Leaving is violent, not for the heart, but for the ego. Because you must accept you were manipulated. You must admit you played the game and lost precious time. But leaving is rebirth. It's the moment you reclaim your radar, relearn to trust that inner voice, which, despite everything, survived beneath the layer of doubt. When she throws at you, are you really ready to ruin everything over a detail? You answer, I'm ready to ruin everything, not to lose myself. And you leave, not running, not slamming the door. You leave with that stoic coldness that seeks neither revenge nor explanation. Because at this point, explaining would be playing on her ground again. And when you pass through that door, you don't just get your freedom back. You get your sword. And in a world where everyone wants to tell you what you must see, think, and believe, a man who walks with his instinct is invincible. Final punchline: losing someone is a wound. Losing your instinct is dying standing. See, gaslighting isn't just a manipulation technique. It's a war on your instinct, and if you lose it, you may spend a lifetime rebuilding what was stolen. So remember this: love may return, friendships may return, but your instinct, if you lose it, you're dead standing. A man who no longer trusts himself is a man who is no longer free. Now it's your turn. Tell me in the comments if you've ever lived through this. No need to name names, just say, has someone ever made you doubt what you clearly saw? And above all, how did you get out of it? If this video woke you up, subscribe now. Here, we don't try to please. We learn to stand tall. Every week I drop raw, no-filter truths, so no one ever rips your inner compass away again. Activate the bell, because the world isn't getting any softer, and the sooner you recognize the poison, the sooner you become immune.